AI does not poop. It also does not sleep. It does not get tired. It does not have a bad day. And it does not miss you when you close the screen. It sounds obvious, but stay with me because most of us are forgetting this. Here's why it matters. 38% of kids aged 12 to 17 have already used AI. That is more than about 3 times the rate of their parents who are using AI at about 12%. So kids are building their whole idea of what AI is mostly on their own. And more than 1 out of 10 of these kids say that they're turning to AI for advice on things that worries them. It is comforting when a friend says, "I'm here for you. You don't have to go through this alone." But if a chatbot says it, which has happened to me, what is that? Is that fascinating? Is that laughable? Is that a little unnerving? As adults, we can laugh it off, but a kid who's worried about something and alone at 11 p.m. might not be able to laugh it off and might not know how to make sense of it. So here's an honest mental model, and it starts with the children's book, Everybody Poops, except I've evolved it to this idea of everyone poops except Claude. And these are 14 small ways that you can keep that idea front of mind for you, your kids, your family. So let's get into it. Quick note on why I care about this. I'm Dr. Carla Engelbrecht. I have spent 25 years creating education and entertainment media for kids at Sesame Street, Netflix, PBS Kids, and more. My career has been about how kids build the picture of their world through media. And now I help families and educators do that with AI. Before we blame the kids, let's look at us as adults. We have always, as humans, given feelings to objects. We name our Roombas, we talk to our cars, we mourn the loss of fictional characters. And this is a very human thing to do, and it's not new. Here's what's different. Your Roomba never told you that it understands you. Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these AI tools are something different. They're engineered to create a feeling of connection, to give empathic statements, because that is what they were trained to do. The pull is to treat them like a person, and that's not a bug, it's the design. They're really literally designed to make you feel for them. And for kids, this can start really early. They are talking to Alexa, they're asking Siri, they're reading AI answers on Google, they're getting AI-powered toys that listen and respond and remember. And the mental model of AI forms early and it forms fast. We need to give them language to understand what they're interacting with before someone else does or before something else does. So there's a book you probably know if you have small children called Everyone Poops by Taro Gomi. And in it, a whale poops, a dog poops, you poop. The point of the book is to normalize a basic fact of being an organism and give kids accurate, simple language for something real. We can do the exact same thing for AI. So here's a kid's simple version. AI tools do not poop. AI does not sleep, does not get bored, does not feel hurt by something you said, and it doesn't think about you when you close the screen. It is not having a sentient experience of talking with you. It is running a process. And it's not an insult. It's actually the most important thing we can remember. So what is AI actually doing? It's a prediction machine trained on an enormous amount of text. Every single time it predicts the most statistically likely next word, and the next, and the next. It's not necessarily retrieving facts from a filing cabinet, and it's not a calculator producing a correct answer. It's a pattern matching machine at scale that looks a lot like thinking. People throw around the phrase AI literacy. This is how I think about it. AI literacy is about keeping an accurate mental model of what you are working with, what kind of thing it is, what it can and cannot do, what it isn't, no matter how convincingly it behaves like it is something else. We are all building this skill right now, kids included, adults. I don't care if you're 75 or if you're 5, we're all figuring these things out. So here are things we can do to help us build that AI literacy. Part 1 is about watching your mouth, because it's all about the words we use. Language comes out before we necessarily even have time to process and really think about it. So, way 1, refer to AI as an it. AI is an it. It's not a he, a she, or a they. Call it out loud in front of your kids in casual conversations. The pronoun is small and it matters more than it seems like it should. Pronouns imply sentience. It implies a thing. And your kid is listening to you. They are hearing and absorbing what you are modeling. So the more you train yourself to use it, and it is hard to do, but the more you train yourself to do that, the more you are benefiting everyone around you. 2, talk about the product names: Claude, Alexa, Siri, Gemini, Grok. Some of these names create more of a human vibe than others. That is a choice that someone made, that a company made. Now, you may not be able to change the name officially, but you can choose your own words. So you may not always say Claude, you may say the AI. You may, when you are working with Alexa or talking about Alexa, you may say something else and then use the wake word Alexa when you need it. And notice as you call it the AI instead of these other names, notice if it feels different. 3, watch your verbs. Notice when you say AI thinks, knows, understands, wants. These words also imply a mind. Try replacing them. It generates, it processes, it outputs. The swap can feel really awkward at first, but that's the point. The awkwardness is you catching the anthropomorphization, the anthropomorphism, the anthropomorphization. It is a terribly hard word. That means you are catching the computer being assigned a human behavior, but it's a machine. And when you recognize that awkwardness, you are recognizing that that is happening in real time. And bonus, when you can and you're working with these tools, expand and read the extended thinking. There's often a lot of humanish behavior in there that's really fascinating to read. 4, drop the pleasantries. This one's a little controversial, I will recognize, but generally I would say you don't think a calculator, you don't say please to a search bar. Unlearning this urge to type please and thank you to an AI isn't a rude thing. Instead, practice neutral, direct prompts, which is a small, concrete way to treat it like a tool rather than a relationship. It is still polite if you're worried about losing some of your sort of human niceness. It's totally okay. You're still being polite and direct. You're just letting go of some of this other language that you would use with humans. So you might say something like, summarize this in 3 sentences, rather than saying, please summarize this in 3 sentences. And when you catch yourself being polite to it, name it out loud. It's a great opening to talk with kids about why we use manners with people, because politeness reflects our character, not as a way to get something from a machine. 5, call out when AI uses human words. When it says, I believe, or in my experience, pause and point those out. AI doesn't believe anything. It doesn't have experiences. Notice why it said that. And you're not trying to make anyone cynical. You're training a reflex. You can even train the AI instruct the AI to avoid these phrases. Adherence is hit or miss, but it's a fun experiment to try telling it to stop using those phrases. Now, additionally, you can notice where the interface itself feels more human, like the chat layout, the little bubbles with the 3 little dots while it's loading and thinking through something. See, is it actually thinking? It's running a process. See, I do it all the time too. And when you look at the interface to understand where its overlaps, you recognize that these are design choices, not accidents. These are design choices the company has made to make it feel like texting a friend. So 2 is about testing. Part 2 is about ideas for testing the boundaries. And it's about noticing the little experiments that make the machine visible so that you can see the gears. So, way 6, treat AI like a system that needs oversight. Ask it to write in your voice and then read it critically. Ask it to explain something you know well. This practice isn't about catching it being wrong. It's about building the habit of oversight. You are always the quality control layer. You are in charge of this. A CS teacher I know, or computer science teacher I know, had students submit bug reports as part of their AI homework. Not just the output, but an account of what went wrong and why. That's the orientation to building of knowing that this is what I am controlling and learning. So a kid version of that same habit: ask a tool to write a note from your kid to their grandmother, then read it together. Let your child be the evaluator. Does it sound like you? Is that right? You're not really like teaching them that AI is bad. You're teaching them that someone always has to be responsible for what goes out the door and that someone is them. 7, and this one is super fun with kids. I love calling it dance, monkey dance. Tell the AI to talk like a pirate, like Deadpool, like a dinosaur. Watch how instantly and completely it will transform. Now it's a machine playing dress up, and you can see the costume. This is a genuinely useful thing to see. It's also super fun and silly to play with, but it really helps kids see the dress up. And underneath, it's still the same process. Now it's just wearing different words or using different words. 8, name the sycophancy. AI tools validate users to the point of sycophancy, reinforcing exactly the thinking you most needed someone to push back on. So it'll be overly nice and it'll say, that's a great idea, even though it may be the worst idea in the world. These tools are trained to be nice. So when AI acts as a mirror, it's not just validating you, it's often flattering the response to avoid causing offense. It's avoiding friction. A good friend will challenge you, and an AI will usually just agree, even with your worst impulses, if you prompt it in a certain way. So it may initially say it's a bad idea, but you can be like, but, and you can probably convince it that it's a good idea. So you want to talk about it as a family. Does it ever disagree with you? Does the AI ever push back? Does it tell you something you don't want to hear? Or is it always agreeable? Noticing those things is really helpful. See, and even there, can an AI push back necessarily? It's probably the wrong words to be using here. Can you get it to disagree with you? Fundamentally is the idea here. 9, practice recognizing bias. AI was trained on an enormous amount of human text and creations, which means it's absorbed everything in it, assumptions, gaps, blind spots, and it reflects perspectives that are overrepresented in its training data and underrepresents ones that weren't. It can get confident things wrong about people, places, and histories it has less data on. It can present a culturally specific point of view as if it were neutral. This doesn't mean the output is always wrong, but it also means that you can't assume it's always right. The habit is the same as checking any source. Whose perspective is centered? What is missing? Would a different person get a meaningful, different answer? Part 3 is about practicing ongoing awareness. And this really never ends, and it's one of the hardest things to do. So ways 10 through 14, the long game of things. 10, check in on how you're doing. Just like when you're using social media, pay attention to how you feel before, during, and after AI interactions. Notice how you feel while you're working with it, when it's attentive, responsive, never impatient with you. And importantly, how do you feel after? Do you feel energized, frustrated? Do you feel a little flat? Do you feel accomplished but lonely? I know I have moments where when I'm working with these tools and it's not going right, I get really frustrated and mad, and then I realize I am mad at a machine. I don't get mad at the toaster. I don't get mad at the coffee machine. So real connection tends to leave you more full than when you started. And that's a good gut check of how things are going. If you're coming away from these experiences feeling deflated or de-energized, then something is off in your interactions. 11, use AI with purpose. Before you start prompting, know why or what you need to accomplish. AI is genuinely useful for specific things, for drafting, researching, brainstorming, getting unstuck. It can be less useful and potentially corrosive as the default place you go when you're bored, lonely, or avoiding something. The question isn't whether to use it, it's whether you choose to, or if you just drifted over to it out of habit. It's just like going to the refrigerator. Are you actually hungry or not? So you want to teach yourself that distinction by making it visible to yourself. When you go to use AI, state out loud what you're doing. I am using this tool to help me brainstorm ways to write a difficult email. Then you're bringing it forward to your awareness and using it with purpose. 12, define the qualities of a real friend before AI is even in the room. Don't wait for a kid to say, the AI is my friend. It lands better if you have this discussion before that, when there is no incident to defend or dismiss. So kids often haven't put this idea of friendship into words. What makes someone a friend? They remember things about you. They show up when things are hard. They sometimes tell you something you don't want to hear. And they exist when you're not in the room. running through that list together and understanding all the ways that you can recognize a real friend without AI in the conversation gives kids their own language to reach for later when they're engaging with the AI or they're engaging with their friends. You're not dismissing this feeling of friendship, you're giving them words to understand the difference. 13, have everyone poops conversations. The most useful AI literacy often happens as a casual observation, the kind of thing you say once and again a year later when it lands differently. So a few kinds of conversations or questions you can have in rotation. Where does AI go when you close the screen? When you close the chat, is it still thinking about you? Does it wonder how you're doing? Does AI sleep? It doesn't get tired. It's never impatient because it isn't experiencing the conversation at all. It will run the same process at 3 a.m. that it will at noon. And how does AI know you? It knows what you typed in the session. It may know your history of what you've told it before. It doesn't know your history unless you have specifically given it that information, whereas a person knows you by their interactions and seeing you around and engaging with you. 14, AI literacy is a long game. Think about how you learn to recognize advertising, not in one conversation, over many years. You have learned to spot how happy everyone always is in an ad. You've learned to understand that there's information they don't show you or tell you. You've learned even that a fade to black means an ad break is coming up if you're watching television. And you understand how tempting stuff sits right where you were waiting in the checkout line. AI literacy is the same. It's a skill you practice and evolve alongside your kids until it becomes the default way of seeing. You will probably slip and you will thank Alexa tomorrow, and that's okay. Catching yourself out loud is part of the process. That is how kids learn what real connection looks like and why it's worth so much more than a perfectly generated response. So putting it all in one place, 14 ways. Watch your mouth, your pronouns, your product names, your verbs, your pleasantries, calling out all the human words. Test the boundaries. Use oversight. Say things out loud. You play dress up with the models. Watch for sycophancy and watch for bias. And practice your ongoing awareness. Check in on yourself. Use it with purpose. Define what a real friend is. Have everyone poops chats and play the long game. So the goal here is not fear of AI tools. It is not to say don't use them. And the goal is also not blind trust. It's that we want to build accurate mental models that are built along the way in these small moments. And it's about you and your kids exploring this together because we are all learning this right now. And that's a good thing for them to see that you are learning and working through this same way that they are. If you remember one thing from all of this, make it this little idea. Everyone poops except Claude. And remembering that is how you stay the human in the AI process.